So the next category is articulation. So you pretty much already know how the game is played, but if you somehow don't, let's go ahead and go over it. Hinge at the jaw. It can open pretty far and close back up pretty snugly. But the problem with the jaw in my copy is it's a bit of a loose hinge. I don't know really how to fix it, if there even is any fixing that. I mean, there probably is, but I'd have to find the right method because I'm used to fixing ball joints, not hinge joints. But we have a ball joint here at the head, which can go about upwards about that far, downward about that far, so pretty much like the same range as the original, and you can pretty much spin and go all the way around, just like that. Not so much, well, actually, there's decently a bit of range here at the neck, so you can kind of go left, right, kind of up and down, kind of pivot in there, and you can pretty much rotate and do all that good stuff. So that's nice to see. Shoulders, well, more the bicep. This would technically be the whole shoulder, but for the shoulders, we have a ball joint, so you can kind of go up and down, side to side, all that good stuff. We can kind of swivel here at the forearm, which kind of leads into the elbow, which we can hinge pretty well. So it's nothing too crazy. And we also have a swivel hinge here at the wrist, which I'm surprised it wouldn't be a ball joint, but then again, given the size of the hand, I'm not all too surprised. Ball joints here at the ab crunch, which there isn't really much of an ab crunch. I mean, you can kind of push it, try and push it as hard as I can. Yeah, that's about as far as I can get it. Let's lean forward, but leaning back, that's fine. And kind of rotate off to the side, so you can kind of swivel to ball joints here at the hips, which actually have a pretty good amount of range, especially for a bootleg. Like, I'm surprised it's not like any stiffer than it already is. So you can kind of like shimmy out, shimmy shimmy ya, drink, la la la. It's okay, fine. I'll stop with that reference. So you can kind of like hinge at the this knee, and you can kind of swivel. This one, you can only swivel, but I've kind of either come to the conclusion that there is something in there that is stuck, or there's no actual hinge cut. I know there's a hinge, but it doesn't have like any range to it. Because I've tried heat, I've tried that what is it, the not the nail polish trick, like the what's that, like dish soap method, whatever, but nothing has worked. Ball joints here at the ankles, so you can kind of go up, down, side, side, kind of rotate all the way around both feet. And you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ball joints here at the tail, so you can kind of go up, down, side to side with it, all that good stuff. And no, there's not a bendy wire on my copy, at least not on this bootleg. I don't know if bootlegs do have bendy wires. Maybe one of them does out there, but mine doesn't. In fact, you can actually kind of see just before we wrap him up. You can kind of see the little holes that would be on the bottom, like to help with like the joints, or the tail flexibility. It's all sealed up, so yeah. Next up, we're going to talk about the atomic blast Shin, which for the head, we have a ball joint here at the head. Looks pretty well done. You can go up, down, side to side. Pretty much all that good stuff. There's no hinge at the jaw, which I think, if I'm not mistaken, is the only NECA Godzilla not to feature a hinge at the jaw. Interesting. We have a ball joint here at the head, so we can kind of look down a lot. Like, that's like straight up that one scene where he's just, and we can go upwards about that far, so pretty good amount of range. Like, especially when you do this, like he gets looser, but he kind of like glides all over the place. So I could do that all day, but I won't. Ball joints here at the shoulders, so you can kind of go up and down, side to side. Same thing with the elbow, since it is kind of like the same base sculpt hinged at the elbows. Swivel hinges for the wrist. Ball joint here at the waist. Not too much range on this one. Ball joints here at the hips, so you can kind of go forward and back a little bit. Hinge at the knees. Ball joint here at the foot, so you can kind of get a little bit of range, not too much. But we do have, again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ball joints here. And they do work in unison, so they do actually fare a little better, even though it's kind of meant to be in this one pose. And mine does have the bendy wire inside of it. However, it's so stiff. Like, it's obviously clear that they did not mold this plastic correctly somewhere, because, like, I cannot get this thing to move. Well, I can get it to move. It's just, I don't want to mess with it too badly. Like, it's always been in this one stance. And however, I also have a mild problem with mine. Actually, I don't think I can pop it out right now. But basically, the bendy wire inside broke through the socket, and it's actually scraping up against that ball joint and has like left like little marks in it since. Not the best quality there, NECA, but then again, this figure is like how old? So I'll give it a pass where pass due. So overall for articulation, they're pretty much as close can be. The only real difference is one has a bendy wire, the other one doesn't. And one has a jaw hinge, a very useless jaw hinge, and this one does not. Size is pretty much the same thing across both of them, so we're going to go right to accessories. This guy comes with nothing. Fairly standard. But this guy comes with some beam effects, which, as I've stated before, I like to look at which one's the longer one, because there is a bit of a height difference, at least with my copies. So this one's a bit of the longer one, so you just kind of stick it into the hole like that. And there you go. And the other beam, little hole at the tail, you're going to stick it in the same way. And boom. Now, again, because I've already mentioned that this guy has the hole, well, the sculpt of the atomic blast tail, because there's a hole in it, you can actually stick this one into this hole, and it can actually kind of accommodate the beam, which I'm actually kind of surprised about. So while I do find the accessories kind of cool, I kind of wish that they had a bit of a better execution, because the beam itself doesn't really look all that great. It does get the job done, especially for, like, I'm getting into spoiler territory for price, but it's not really spoiler at this point. $20, it can't go wrong, but at the same time, you could have gotten a little bit more right. This kind of looks more like it's supposed to be a bendy wire, even though it's not. And plus, I actually, if my memory serves me correctly, I had at one point where, like, this started coming out on one of the beams. I can't remember which one, so I had to glue it back in. So, it's not necessarily the best quality. At least for me. And also, I feel like the purple could be a bit more brighter. I feel like that's the one thing that this figure really lacks in, is the purple. Because Shin Godzilla is known for being purple, so a little bit more purple, please. But going over to price, the originals, Talking Legit Official, were both about $20. I think they may have amped it up to $25 once they started putting, like, the new poster box packaging in. But again, fully fine. I feel like, again, as far as price goes, it tends to fluctuate even on the aftermarket. Like, this guy can actually go for some decent money on the aftermarket. I don't know how much the bootleg, I think the bootleg I got for like $30. Maybe. But again, money well spent in my opinion. This, however, like, aftermarket prices are just totally all over the place. So that's really up to you as far who is the better one. Availability, don't even get me started. If you find a listing for this guy, 9 times out of 10 it's going to be bootleg. Same thing with him. I intentionally bought a bootleg just because it was good enough to where it could satisfy my need for the original. But with that being said, segueing into packaging, I got this guy with the clamshell packaging with Godzilla, the Bandai creation, all that good stuff. Not in the new poster box style. I've never come across it in person. Him, He didn't even come in a box. I got him in bubble wrap because I didn't need like any more boxes at the time, and honestly, I don't really think I need them either. So I'm perfectly fine with that. So, as far as that's concerned, we pretty much have like a full in-depth analysis as to the differences between these two Shin Godzillas. Do I think that one is better than the other? Honestly, yes, and that's gonna have to be this guy over him, just because the execution is just done a lot better, and it's also not a bootleg, so the quality is a bit better. However, it's just a bit better. This guy actually has some redeeming qualities to him, and I would say if the jaw hinge was a bit better and we didn't have that whole business with the leg going on, perfect Godzilla figure for Shin by far, in my opinion. Because I own six, seven if I count that duplicate Shin Godzilla, but from Playmates at least. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching. If you really want one, try to track down a good bootleg, because at this point you're not going to be willing to spend like over $60 on a resale for the original. That's just not worth it at that point. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching again. If you guys liked it, definitely subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out, everyone.